It's a simple fact. People throughout the world are living longer. By 2050, the proportion of the world's population over 60 years will nearly double from nearly 14% currently to 22% according to the World Health Organization. But that increased age leads to a greater risk of health challenges, including chronic conditions like arthritis, heart disease, cancer, and stroke. Approximately 85% of older adults have at least one chronic health condition, while 60% have at least two chronic conditions, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Our next guest is a former banking executive, philanthropist, and a cancer and stroke survivor. Dora Brown, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing some of your experiences with your health with us. Now, before you turned 60, how was your health?
Well, first, thank you for having me. Before I turned 60, I was fine. I was running around and doing everything that I, wanted to do. My job kept me busy. I never thought about slowing down. I wanted to do everything to be able to help other people, and which is what I did, and I enjoyed it.
And your health was pretty much perfect then, for the most part. You didn't have any issues with high blood pressure or any of those things that you hear about?
No, I have been one of those lucky persons. I never had that problem, those situations. Everything was fine until
September 2017, you were diagnosed with cancer. Tell us a little bit about that diagnosis. How did that come about? What were the warning signs leading up to it? Or was it something that completely caught you off guard?
I was caught off guard, but at the same time, my doctor told me to go and get a mammogram. Of course, she had told me to do this for a year or so, but I kept skipping my appointments because I had something else better to do. Not better, but I was busy. I didn't have time.
More pressing matters.
Yes. And so by the time that I did go, especially when they redo those tests 2 or 3 times, something's wrong. Mm-hmm. I found out that I did have breast cancer.
All right, and you went through surgery and chemo.
And radiation.
And so you did all of that, and you got a clean bill of health for the most part after that. And then in August 2019, so 2 years later, you have a stroke. And we actually shared your story on the South Texas Health System website. Tell us a little bit about how that came about, because I remember you telling me you just woke up one Saturday morning and saw double.
It was fine. Saturday, the night before, just went to bed as usual. The next morning, my husband decides he's gonna go play golf because he hadn't played in a long time. And I said, okay, no problem. So he got up and went to play golf. Well, I got up and I went to go to the bathroom. And all of a sudden, I felt like I saw two of you. Well, I went to the bathroom, came out, and then all of a sudden my legs didn't work anymore. Just a week before, my husband had taken the phone off, the landline off. So my phone was downstairs.
You had to call 911 downstairs.
But then my arms didn't work either. And so I had to crawl all the way to the kitchen to go get my phone. And when I called my husband, he said, "What's wrong with you? I told you I was gonna have breakfast with the guy." He said, breakfast? I called him again, I called him a third time, and he finally said, "I'm on my way."
He knew.
He knew.
Because I remember Joe was saying from the interview that you were just mumbling, and it was all gibberish.
But the thing is, and I praise God to this day, that how he was able to give me the chance to go downstairs, get the phone, and by the time that Joe said, "I'm around the corner," I think I collapsed. And I don't remember anything else until I was in the hospital.
Now, you were rushed to a different hospital, then you made it over to McAllen. You made it over to South Texas Health System McAllen. They treat you right away. They warn your family that to expect the worst because you just never know with a stroke. But miraculously, you woke up a couple of days and didn't feel anything different. Is that right?
You made me cry now. We're trying to remember all of this. Yes. The doctors told, which I love Dr. Hassan, but he told my husband that I'd better call the family, call my daughter, because, they didn't know whether I would make it or whether I'd be paralyzed in some kind of capacity. And so they went ahead and did the surgery, and they put me in ICU, and then they sent in the occupational therapist, the speech therapist, and another therapist. And then one of them comes in and says, okay, Ms. Brown, the physical therapist. Ms. Brown, we're gonna get up and we're gonna walk, just see how much you can walk. And I said, well, how far are we gonna walk?
Because you don't like exercise.
And he says, yes, exactly. And he said, just as far, if you can only make it to the door, that's all we're gonna do. And I said, oh, no, I just gotta go to the bathroom first. And the therapist watched me get up and go to the bathroom, come back, and they were all in awe. And I guess at the time they called the doctor. Dr. Hassan was just very surprised. The other therapist came in. The physical therapist told the other therapist, this lady doesn't need you, go find somebody who really needs help. Dr. Hassan stayed there, and they kept me in the hospital just for observation because they could not believe that I had the ability to walk on my own and talk without any problems.
You mentioned this before, you were always a busy woman. I mean, a banking executive, you're a mom, and you also are in a lot of, you participate in a lot of charities. So you were always a busy woman, and I remember you telling me in the past that you were just too busy, and if the doctor's office had a long wait, you would just leave. So what advice do you have for people now who think, oh, I'll deal with it tomorrow, I've got a lot on my plate today?
All I can say is think about yourself first. Because I didn't. My doctor, my family doctor, was very upset at me when she found out about my situation. And she went back to check her charts. And sure enough, I had missed several of my wellness appointments. And she said, if I had seen this, or if you had been here, this might not have happened to you. So I encourage everybody. I encourage all those ladies and gentlemen out there to keep your appointments. Don't miss your appointments.
Don't miss a single one.
Don't miss a single one. And nobody's going to take care of you except yourself. And I didn't think that stress was the #1 killer for stroke. I mean, think about it, ladies. It'll take 30 minutes to an hour, maybe 2 hours, but don't do what I did. I would just walk out of the doctor's office and say, doctor doesn't have time for me, I don't have time for him. But it was only me that I was hurting.
So the advice again is just make sure that you follow up with all of those appointments and really make every effort to maintain your health.
If you haven't done already, go in to your doctor, make sure to keep up with those wellness. I never realized, Thomas, that wellness appointments were that important. I mean, I thought you just go in, they check you out, and what are they going to do? But I mean, that's why they're trained to catch those different things that we don't. And if I had done that, I wouldn't have gone through everything that I did.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you sharing your story, and we hope you get some valuable insights from Dora's personal experiences. If you'd like to see more of her story, you can visit the SDHS page on YouTube and see her full story about her stroke. Thank you.